Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Kind of knife review. This is part knife review, part history and homage video, I guess you would say. This is the Spyderco Sage 5, not a brand new knife. I'm really trying to review stuff that's pretty new, but this has been out for a couple years now. But it's a knife that I didn't experience until recently, and I got one as a loaner, and I liked it so much that this one is mine. I went and bought one. That's how much I like it. I actually got it to borrow for a three-way little comparison review, and it didn't win, but I still went out and bought one. I like it that much. It is a very, very cool knife in that 3-inch kind of category that I like a lot, and I know from comments and stuff you guys like a lot also. The Sage series, the Sage 5, obviously this is the 5th. What they did is they took this same basic blade shape and just made several different lock versions. There's one that's kind of similar to the ball bearing lock on the Manix 2. There's a back lock, there's a frame lock, there's a liner lock, and then this compression lock, the Sage 5, which has been by far the most popular version. Made in Taichung, Taiwan, S30V steel, the usual carbon fiber, laminate, peel ply kind of things you see out of Taiwan. Wire clip. A lot of the stuff you expect to see out of the Taiwan plant, and Spyderco's awesome compression lock, which if you guys are not familiar with that, it is kind of a reverse sort of liner lock. Works great. I love it. Makes the knife very flippy and fun. It's just a really good knife design, and I thought it deserved a full-on review since now I own one. Overall design, typical Spyderco leaf-shaped design, S30V steel, as I said. Very, very nice. Pretty thin behind the edge. We'll do some stats and some size comparisons now before I get too much farther. You have an overall length of 7.2 inches. Blade length just a hair over 3 inches, which is a bit annoying to me, but we'll get to why that is. Blade is 0.12 inches, so not terribly thick. You have a handle thickness of 0.43 and a weight of just 3.2 ounces. Let's do some size comparisons. I'm mostly going to compare it to other Spydercos, I'll be honest, because just to show where it fits in their lineup. The one it's the closest to, excuse me, God, I've got a really rough voice today, is the Spyderco Para 3. Just a little bit longer than the Para 3. Also in that 3-inch blade range. We'll compare it to the Delica 4. Pretty similar in overall length to the Delica also, just a hair bigger than that. Our ubiquitous Spyderco PM2. Obviously a little bit smaller than that, quite a bit smaller than that actually. And what else do we have out here that's not a Spyderco that's in my grasp? A Kershaw Dividend, pretty similar to that. I could have actually included this in that review also, that little comparison video I did that this was in. This is the M390 one. And we'll just do two more. We have your Benchmade 940. Shorter than that. And lastly, one fairly big one. Your Ontario Rat Model 1. Quite a bit smaller than the Rat Model 1. So you see, this is a pretty good little EDC size. I really like the overall design of it. I think it's fairly handsome for a Spyderco. But when you insist on putting that hole in there, some Spydercos look great, some not so much. I think they integrated it well here. I think it's a pretty knife. I like the look of the wire pocket clip on this knife. I think it fits it perfectly. And I know some people freak out about the carbon laminate that Taichung uses, but I really like it. I always have. It's got a good texture. I've always really liked it. I know some people aren't wild about it, and I do love on the aesthetic front. I just love the finish on this blade. I really like it. I think it looks very cool. The kind of bi-directional grind marks that are still on there look great. Usual almost lack of billboarding here. You just got Spyderco S30V on this side and their cool little logo burned in there, and then just the little Taichung Taiwan. That's it. Not a whole lot on there. This is a in-house design, so there aren't giant maker's marks with somebody they can collaborate with or anything. Very nice, and quality-wise also very nice as well. It's a Taichung Taiwan Spyderco. The Taichung plant makes really, really high-quality stuff. This is no exception. No issues whatsoever with anything. Like the blade centering is excellent. All the finish is excellent. There's no, sharp edges sticking out other than the blade, which is supposed to. It does have the usual Taichung thing of the blade hole is a bit sharp. The little Spidey hole is a bit sharp, but that would take 2 seconds with a little ceramic rod to clear it up. I've never bothered to do it because it doesn't bother me that much, so I just haven't bothered to. As far as this blade goes, pretty thin behind the edge. I do believe, I didn't look up my old notes, but if I do believe, I think it was 23 thousandths behind the edge, the usual Spyderco thing. Very slicey, very tall, flat grind, pretty thin blade stock, works excellently. Blade tip, not terribly thick, but not bad at all for a Spyderco of this size. A lot of them are a bit thinner than that. Pretty good. I mean, I wouldn't want to do any prying with it, obviously, but it's all right. It's pretty beefy, and it's just a great knife to slice with. It's really good general purpose EDC design. Ergonomics, I think that is what made me fall in love with this knife and why I had to buy one. It just fits my hand perfectly. Again, I have large size hands, skinny fingers, but very long fingers. But man, it just fits perfectly. When you use this front choil, it's just like a handshake from an old friend. It's just really nice. I do really like it. I love the pocket clip. You can feel it touch your palm just a little bit, but it's a wire clip, so it's a bit flexible. So when you really have to crank down, it flexes the clip more than hurting your hand, which I really appreciate. It does have a lanyard hole, but since they use this one screw wire clip, they haven't utterly screwed up where to put the clip, which is a common thing Spyderco seems to be fond of lately. They'll put a lanyard hole and move the clip 3 inches down the handle, it feels like. But this one is really great. Nice deep carry. Very discreet in the pocket. Very, very nice. Actually, we will show you that. I'm kind of skipping ahead to the carry part when I'm talking about ergonomics, but it's ergonomically just awesome. And sometimes it's hard to find things to say about stuff that's just really good. So we'll skip ahead to the carry department. It's just excellent ergonomically, as you'd expect from Spyderco. They're pretty good at this stuff. But yeah, you've got it nice and see, hardly anything shown at all. What it shows is black. Really nice. Very discreet carry knife. Very good carry size. And it's light too. 3.2 ounces. There are knives in this size that are under 3 for sure. The Wii Rectifier comes to mind. A Benchmade Bug Out's even bigger and it's way lighter. But I mean, just in this kind of EDC size, there are knives that are lighter, but not by a ton. And I think that's perfectly fine. Deployment-wise, pretty good. If this is one thing that there is a deficiency between this and the Para 3, it's something I get always asked about all the time. Which one do you like better? There's a whole ton of comparison reviews between these. First, they're both compression locks, both about the same size. Golden Colorado is where this one's made. Taichung for this one, and Taichung just doesn't nail the compression lock quite as well as Golden does, which isn't surprising because Golden Colorado makes a lot of them. Taichung doesn't make that many. It drops perfectly fine, but the deployment, you can Spidey flick it, you can do all those things, but it's not as effortless as it is on the Para 3. It just bangs out every single time. I don't even have to think about it. Para 2, same way. It's just the way they do the compression lock out of Taichung. It's just the flicky is, you have to think about it a bit more, but it works fine. And the drop shut is still really, really good. So I have torn this one apart and serviced it, but it's still excellent deployment. It's still fun to fiddle with. It's just not quite as much as a Para 3 or a PM2, but not too far off. So where does that leave us? Overall, it's an excellent knife. If I have one complaint about it, it's that the blade length is 3.03 inches. It's not technically under 3 inches, and I do live in an area where if I'm an asshole to a cop, that might become a problem. I'm not, and I've never been checked for a knife or searched in my entire life, but it is a thought that it is. If you get a cop that's in a bad mood, he might say it's over 3 inches. The price on it, I never mentioned that before, $150. A lot of Spydercos are overpriced. I do not feel that this one is. I do firmly feel this is a $150 knife all day long. Getting that nice Tai Chung quality. It's just a great all-around EDC knife. I would go as far as to say, and this may be another video coming up, but I don't know which one is the best, but it's in the running for the best Spyderco they make. I really do think it is a fantastic knife. Other than that little discrepancy of I wish that they'd have made that blade a 1/10 of an inch shorter so I didn't have to think about it. That would be nice. But other than that, yeah, I can't really think of a whole lot I would change about this knife at all. And that's why I bought one. Like I said, I got one in for a loaner, and I fell in love with it. And I bought it, and I do not regret it for a minute. I've never considered selling it. It's just a great all-around, really good EDC size. If you like knives bigger than this, then I get it. But if you like knives in that 3-inch size, I definitely prefer it to the Para 3. You want to go back and watch Para 3 videos of mine and see my issues with the Para 3, but I have no issues with this. I really like it. It's if you want something a little heavier duty blade, you want something, that's bigger, then don't get it. But other than that, man, it's pretty great. The only thing I wish that they would do different is I wish it was made in Golden, Colorado, only because stuff made in Golden, Colorado comes out in sprint runs, like this PM2 and 20 CV. When they come out with sprint runs of the Para 3, I'm not interested. If they had sprint runs of this in their crazy new steels they're using, like they made this in like a Rex 45 or a 20 CV or something like that, I'd be all over it. But Tai Chung doesn't usually make sprint runs, so we didn't get one. So I really wish there was a sprint of this and something cool, but great knife. Love the Sage 5. Highly recommend it. I don't have any experience with other Sages. That's why I didn't really talk about them. I've never even held another Sage, but this one, fantastic. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I've been Brian. Have a good one.